things that we have learned from playing Dynasty Fantasy Football, basically some just, good tips. I know it's summer. Some leagues don't have a lot going on. Some people are timing out in drafts, driving everyone crazy. But let's be real. Leagues are won right now. Things that you do in the offseason are almost as important as what you do setting your lineups and all that stuff, managing your in-season moves. So let's give you guys some good tips, things that we've picked up along the way.
For me, sometimes this kind of goes in with Chev's next one too. Mm-hmm. But don't be forced just to trade just because someone sends you a trade offer. If you don't want to trade the guy that you have because you have an affinity for that player and they keep pressuring you, you really don't have to do it. You can just honestly be like Mike and block them or mute them for a little bit until they stop doing it. But I just feel like, sometimes if you just build a relationship with certain people, when you make a deal in trades during dynasty season, if that person is being rude to you or whatnot, just, you can either let the commissioner know or just leave it open. And if it's something that you don't want, because at that point you have the you have the power to either approve or decline it. Don't have anybody that's trying to be a shark or whatever they call them. Don't let them force you to make a deal that you really don't want to do.
Yeah, I agree. I love that tip too, because then you have the guy that explains to you every facet of the trade and why it's so good for you and how that
you kind of influenced me with this one, Mike, with your guy.
Chev, I like this. It's short, it's to the point, but makes a lot of sense. I think some people need a lesson in this. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, it's real simple. I feel like I don't have to explain it too much, but I will a little bit. Don't be a dick. I mean, it's just, you're ruining yourself when you want to make trades. You're ruining the relationship with your league mates where you have to make deals sometime to make your team better. You can't just be a waiver wire monster. You can't be somebody that just drafts amazingly every single time. Because there's sometimes where you're going to have to move a lot of draft picks if you're a dick to people, because they're going to say, no, you know what? Pay up, because I'm not going to allow you to just get ahead of me for any small amount anymore, because you want to be a dick in the chat or you want to be dick in trades. Some people, they'll send you a trade. Maybe it's not the best, but it doesn't mean you have to be rude about it. Just say, I'm probably looking for more value here. I mean, it's really that simple, man. If you are rude to your league mates, you are not going to be able to make deals. You're not going to be able to have a successful fantasy career in that league, I feel like, because if you're rude to me or you're rude to somebody I like in the league, there's a good chance you're not getting a trade done with me. And I will voice my opinion out to other people and let them know, hey, man, this guy's a dick. Don't do anything with him. Be careful of him. That's just how it is. Be a stand-up dude.
Yeah.
Don't be the guy that ruins the league for everybody else, honestly.
Here's one that I should have learned a long time ago. That's don't get obsessed with your guys. If or when they flame out, you could be looking at multiple rosters in disarray. And for one example, I can give you my 12 LaMichael Pirine shares.
Jay Sternberger.
Okay, yeah, I know Jay Sternberger. So I get a little too attached to my guys, and maybe that's part of me being stubborn and wanting to prove I'm right. Saying, hey, if I hang on and this guy's good, then I'm really right. So just don't get too attached. And like I've said before, diversify your portfolio, just like your stock market. You want to do the same thing with your fantasy teams. You can't just have the same guys over and over and over and over and over again.
We do make the mistake of loving our guys too much. And so, yeah, we could do it again. And then when draft season comes along, we're looking at our list of players that we have to cut to make the stuff fit. And it's like, I guess we got to go. But,
yeah,
we just got to.
How many times did Nate cut Puka Williams? I got another one for you guys here. So prior to your rookie drafts, do your own research too. And look, really appreciate that you guys are tuning in, listening to us. Maybe you join the Patreon. Maybe you are a YouTube subscriber. We really appreciate all that. But you have analysts you trust. You don't want to be an echo chamber. You don't want to do that. When I would see guys, like I would find myself, and this helped me as an analyst and as a fantasy player as well, I would find myself liking and hating guys for seeing something that somebody said on Twitter. And I'm like, why? And then I'd turn the tape on and be like, hold on a second. If everyone's hating this guy because that guy said so and I can get him here in drafts, I'm going to go ahead and do that. So, let us guide you and then take it the rest of the way from there.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a guy that you absolutely hate at the end of the day too. So I mean, if you don't watch I watch highlights. I really don't care. Like that's the lowest thing probably I would want to do, but you get to watch the guy actually perform and do what he does rather than just listening to somebody. Because at the end of the day, I mean, there's been times where I drafted players and I'm like, why did I even pick this guy? It's not even somebody that I even like or even would want on my team. So I agree, Mike, 100% with that one.
And perfect example is like AJ Dillon. Like I couldn't stand AJ Dillon. But I was like, well, let me continue to look. And then Bob was talking about AJ Dillon, how much he thinks he's going to be good. And look at him now. He's actually a serviceable running back. So sometimes we have to reassess our analysis of what we do. So
please don't.
I can only imagine what Bob's doing when he hears this. He's going to be smiling ear to ear when he hears this. It's going to be great. Don't
forget to also look at situations and depth charts, stuff like that too. And, if you want to kind of do a little foreshadowing, overthecap.com, look up a player you could see when their contract is good too. So if you think they're going to be a casualty because they make too much money, try to move on from them a little bit earlier. So Chev, let's go to your next one. I do not agree with the second part of this at all, but you can explain it a little bit. So why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, this one's not for Mike. This is not a good one for him, but I don't usually have a set philosophy when I'm going into a draft. I think that's a tough way to get yourself in trouble really quick. Just because if you say, I'm going to go double QB right off the rip and you're pick number 11, you're going to probably end up with some guys that aren't the greatest players. Like you're going to end up with some guys that are end of QB ones rather than getting a RB1 or a wide receiver 1 right from the get-go. And I mean, sometimes value falls, but you just got to play the hand that's given to you. And I think sometimes we may get stuck too many times on one certain philosophy. And I think that can hurt us in the very beginning of the draft when we start up. Also, I like to be a little bit chatty with my league mates, get to know them, get to know what players maybe they like, what team they like. Because at the end of the day, you can sometimes use that to your advantage. And I've even heard of people having like a notebook of their league and what players like. I'm not going that far, but just keep in contact with your people. Because like I said in the beginning, if you're a jerk, they're not going to want to communicate with you. But if you're somebody that's nice, somebody that's asking them about who they like, just chatting with them, getting to know them, even having a little bit of diss on each other. It's always fun to have a little bit of that game where you're just bragging or whether it's making fun of someone, but there's a line that you can cross as well. I think just getting to know your league mates is huge, just so you know what they like. And, it helps in trades moving forward.
Mine is to develop positive relationships to help execute trades. Kind of goes with Chev was saying with being chatty. For a perfect example, I made a trade with Mike, my first Dynasty league. We developed a relationship, made good deals. There wasn't nobody being a dick about anything or going back and forth saying this trade is dumb. And that helped with making future trades to help with your team later. You know who to trade with, especially if I'm trading with Chev. We can have a conversation to where, I know he's not going to try to degrade me for what kind of value that I have on a certain player. It gets to a point where it can help me with the trade to move him forward and helping him as well. If you decide to start trading with negative people, it pretty much goes nowhere, in my opinion. You're just going back and forth for no reason. And you just wasted a half hour to an hour trying to execute a trade that's never going to happen. So I would just say, like Chev said, don't be a dick. Just be positive with your league mates. And most of the time, if you're a dick, people are telling people, hey, this guy's a dick. This trade is never going to work. So yeah, just try to do that and just be nice to your league mates. Remember, it's fantasy football. It's a game. We're here to have fun. We're not here to be rude to these people.
Philip, do you have another one for us right away?
Yeah, watch for I think you kind of get my drift because I'm trying to get on trades because I think people get taken advantage of with trades. So I'll just say watch for serial fleece traders, I should say. You see a lot of them. So if you see a lot of them from one certain person or two certain people in your league, just stay away, because they're the type of people that's probably just spamming your DMs on Sleeper or NFL or wherever you play on, and they get super irritating at all periods of times. And then you look at this trade, you wake up in the morning and you get one player and the package is totally off. Like the value is way off.
Man, this is one that really killed me when I first started fantasy, because I always felt like I wanted to get the best players. I needed to get the best players to win, when I was really actually screwing my team trying to get the best players. I mean, there was a trade where I wanted to get Michael Thomas. He's having a monster year. Next year, he busts up his ankle. Obviously, you can't predict that, but the assets that I gave up for him are way better than what Michael Thomas was going to give me, because I didn't check how old Michael Thomas was. What does his contract look like? Who's going to be quarterback for him in 2021? Like, I should have known Drew Brees isn't going to be the guy until he's 700 years old. That's just not possible. So I think not giving up the farm for one player. Trust your assets. You built them up for a reason. You have younger players. Don't just give them away for free to get an aging veteran. I know sometimes you have to kind of maybe put yourself ahead, but don't give up the farm for that one player just because he's so good. Because an ankle injury takes it away and he's done for. So keep your assets if you can. Don't give up the farm for that one star player, and always check to see what their contract is, and think about, what is this player going to do for me in 2 years? Is he going to be somebody that has a good quarterback around him? Or is it going to be somebody that, I don't know who his quarterback's going to be? I think just doing those things early on, that will help set you up for success. I know you want those studs, but trust the process. You'll get those studs if you have your assets built right.
Don't overdraft players for need. This year everyone's taking James Cook too high, I feel. And we did a live stream, and people, it seems to be like right around the 110, 111. Should I take James Cook or Isaiah Spiller? Take Jahan Dotson or George Pickens if they're available. Okay, don't draft for need. Take the best player available. You can always make moves later on. Let me give you a personal example here. I once drafted Keyshawn Vaughn at the 106. I needed a running back. I thought he was going to be the guy. I thought he was going to beat out Ronald Jones, and I wasted the 106. Could have been something completely different. Even if it's a one quarterback league, it would have been better to take a quarterback there. And the next year I did. I took Trevor Lawrence at the 107. People laughed at me, Pork, right? But
yeah, and I was fine with the pick.
At that point in the draft, it was the best player on the board at that pick, and nobody else wanted to make a move for the pick. So I took the best player available, and I'm happy with it. Why would you take a quarterback in one quarterback league? I still have to start a quarterback. Last I checked.
How awesome is it? Too. Yeah, how awesome is it to have that quarterback for his whole career if he's that dang good too? You're setting yourself up. If that's a position you don't have to stream, that's great.
Exactly. Which is why I made the pick. If he's good, and you know what? There's a likelihood that he's good. I think he's going to be. He could be bad, and I wasted the pick. But at least I'm going to get something out of him, unlike what I've gotten from Keyshawn Vaughn, which has been nada. One last thing. Hey, be attentive. Even if you're out of it, if you're not going to win this year, okay. Start building for the future. Be attentive. Pay attention. All right, Chev, we got one more from you, then one more from Phil, and then we are out of here.
Yeah, for me, it's just don't overdo yourself with too many leagues. It probably was because my work sucked at the moment too, but man, I just got to a point where there was too many leagues for me to look at. I was just getting depressed about how many lineups I actually had to set, how much work I was actually having to do. And I just overdid myself, and it made fantasy football zero fun for me. Now I'm in a position where I'm not in many leagues. I'm able to actually focus and make good decisions for my teams, where there's a time where I'm not even playing the waiver wire. I'm not being attentive like Mike is saying. And you could tell like my team was not good because I was not paying attention and I was not having fun. So don't overdo yourself with too many leagues. It's okay to leave a league. Try to find somebody that can take over your spot. That way your commissioner is in good hands. I hate having to leave leagues, but for me, this last year has been a true blessing because I haven't been in too many leagues and I'm having fun again. I'm enjoying my time in fantasy football.
My last tip is when you do your regular draft, say it's a startup or just a regular rookie draft, just trust your eyes and don't get influenced by the consensus rankings all the time. Sometimes just take your guys. If you want to take a Mahomes over Allen, even though the ranking says Allen over Mahomes, do it. That's your person. Go for it. I think some people are too take lock on, if they listen to a certain analyst or they're looking at certain rankings on Sleeper or MFL, they said, well, I have to take this guy because he's at the top of the list here in this type of round. You don't win that way. Sometimes you have to be a little contrarian because some people are still drafting that way. Just a prime example, somebody said in the Scott Fishbowl this year, it's pretty much a 3,000 person GPP. That's all it is. If you all pick the same guys, everything's going to be the same, and nobody's really going to, do the best they can. So I kind of went totally off the wall this year and try, hey, let's have fun and do something totally different that I've never done before, and I'm having a blast because people are saying, "Oh, you can't do this." Yes, I can because I'm doing it, and I have a possibility to win. This is all for you to have fun. This is not pretty much based off of, being a robot and picking what the robot says. Have fun with your teams. Pick who you want. If people don't agree with it, F them, pretty much, for lack of better terms, because you're having fun. You got your players. Yes, Mike, I want Gerald Everett on my team. I want George Pickens at the 103 at rookie drafts because that's who the hell I want. But yeah, just have fun because it just makes it doesn't make it fun if you're still just looking at numbers.